such as David Moallam. They conducted 2 site visits to the compound. They toured units 51, 52, 53. And the action plan, just as an overall, provides a phasing plan that is aimed to promote job creation and private capital investment, specifically in the compound, but really focusing on Unit 53, which, as you know from previous compound presentations, is sort of our low-hanging fruit. They provide next steps considerations and a high-level financial analysis and direct job creation estimates. So again, this study really builds upon the previous studies and assessments and analyses that the city has already commissioned. And that includes the strategic plan, the economic development strategic plan that council adopted in 2023, and the following compound analysis that council adopted in 2024. So they identified a couple of strategies, the goal being that they want to encourage further economic development in the compound Unit 53, leverage the city's existing high technology sector to attract new talent, business, and private investment, facilitate the development of a business or industrial park in the compound, again, specifically Unit 53. They identified some challenges, but you'll note that the very first one, probably the most obvious one, is when we look at creating economic development opportunities in the compound, one of the major challenges we have is that we don't have a large mass of land of contiguous acres that we, the city, own. Nor is there a large mass of land that any one developer owns that is not either bifurcated by a road or some other land constraints. The other key contributing factors include the unique property ownership of 2,700 property owners. It's pre-platted, disjointed parcels, multiple land entitlements, lack of existing infrastructure, and of course, there are some constraints when it comes to our existing employer, BRP, whereby they like to have a buffer to provide confidentiality for the projects that they and products they provide. So this slide just kind of provides an overview of what we're looking at here. So if this works, okay. So here's what is Bayside Lakes turns into J.A. Bombardier Boulevard, and then we have existing road infrastructure. If you've been out there, you know it's aging roads. The city owns approximately 30 acres here. To the north of it is BRP. And so I just want to kind of give you a little understanding of where specifically we're talking about. And just for reference, everything in the red box here is Unit 53, where you'll start to see in the additional slides coming forth, this is the area we're talking about. The blue parcels are city-owned parcels. The green parcels are properties owned by David Moallam under various entities.
What color was that you just said?
The teal blue is the city, and the lime green is David Moallam. This slide is really just a reminder that we do have considerations for the St. John's Heritage Parkway alternative corridor evaluation that will run through the compound. And I share that so that you're aware that as we start looking at the next slides, you'll continue to see references to the future St. John's Heritage Parkway corridor, just so that it stays in our mind that that is part of the future's transportation corridor, the city's transportation corridor. So specifically, we're looking at this section here, which is Unit 53. Again, aerial conditions, just for awareness. Phase 1. It is a little bit hard to see. I'll try to zoom in, but if you have the presentation in front of you, it's probably a bit helpful. Going back, this is the city-owned property. This land is owned by BRP. And I'm gonna have to go back so that you can see it in its entirety. It's this property right here, BRP. So a little bit of context. In early discussions with BRP, they have expressed some consideration for entertaining into a land swap with the city. Their goal is ensuring that they have a buffer to ensure confidentiality. And so with that, we've had preliminary discussions on whether they would be interested in swapping this parcel for this bottom southern half of their parcel. The northern half of their parcel has wetlands. It's not developable anyway. Our parcel is has restrictions for conservation. And so we couldn't develop on it anyway. So if we were to engage in a land transfer, land swap, they would have those same restrictions. So just sharing that for a little bit of context, because that could come up tonight. You'll also note, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time on phase one because this is where a lot of the details are. You'll also note that there's that St. John's Heritage Parkway corridor. Underneath that layer, you'll see a blue color, that's city-owned property. You'll see a mustard color, that is David Moallem. The intent is for the city to secure right-of-way for the compound or for the future St. John's Heritage Parkway. So they've taken that into consideration. They've heard staff and they've kind of reserved it for that future use, both the roadway and stormwater. To the west side of that is actually an FPL corridor, FPL easement, and the Melbourne Tillman Canal. Everything further to the west of that is really marsh, wetlands, not really developable. It is owned by various property owners, just like the rest of the compound, but realistically, it's not developable. Focusing on this here, this is they're calling phase one, and what they have provided, and I've got to look at this because I can't see that on the screen. What they provided is a series of commercial, industrial, flex space, R&D space that they're proposing to provide economic growth, jobs, private capital investment, tax revenue for the city. They're proposing initially phase one, 380,000 square feet. They're also including, they're looking at the land and they're saying, well, we've got to factor in wetlands and buffers and a substation and parking. And so they've already kind of taken into account at a very, very high level other land considerations besides just plopping a concrete structure on the site. So I did appreciate that about what they have done. Oh, thank you, Brian. That's great. Now, can you scroll down to the little table? That would be wonderful. Thank you. So that is, again, just a high level of how they have proposed development of a phase one business industrial park. Again, it's very aggressive. It's very proactive. It would probably take more than 5 to 8 years, in my opinion. It does provide, they set aside, if we can zoom out, Brian, it does provide for a future FPL substation.
Right.
In our conversations with FPL, they've stated, unless you get a major power user in phase 1 or 2, the current substation will meet the needs in the compound. However, as the compound grows beyond Unit 53, you're going to need a substation. They want and prefer to be adjacent to their FPL easement, their FPL corridor naturally. So we've kind of looked at that. It's placed there, but just know that that's sort of a placeholder. Other considerations that, and I should probably stick to my notes, other considerations that are factored into this design are assumptions and conversations with existing property owners, such as David Moallem. Discussions on whether there'd be amenable to administrative rezoning of his parcels for commercial industrial use, land swaps, using existing roadways, identifying users that wouldn't be high traffic generators, because again, you've got sort of one way in, one way out, and that's Bayside Lakes Boulevard. So I'm going to move on from this slide, but what I will share is as you go into phase 2 through 4, 2 is adding an additional 40,000 square feet of R&D and flex space. Phase 3 is moving further to the east and adding another 120,000 square feet of R&D and flex space. And finally, phase 4, they're talking about a total build out of 960,000 square feet of commercial, industrial, flex space, R&D space. And then finally, phase 5 is looking at adding that the recreation, conservation, open space. So all great, right? Great ideas. Is it feasible? This is a summary of all the phases. It includes all of the various uses of the land proposed. It includes the total amount of square feet, which is nearly 1 million. It's a total of 86 acres, which when we've talked with the Economic Development Commission, what they've shared with us is Palm Bay is one of the only communities in Brevard that actually has raw vacant land available for development. And the biggest challenge, even in Palm Bay, is finding contiguous land. So they're telling us 25 to 50 acres is ideal. That's kind of how the consultant took that concept and made it even bigger than 25 to 50 acres. They're looking at how do we get more than just one user to the compound to really make it worth the investment. They have provided an estimated cost, and they've provided an estimated value at completion. And of course, you can see that there are various key assumptions and how they have identified that based on market conditions. They had their own economic development consultant as part of the team that provided these studies, and that's all part of the appendices in the study. They also provided additional key takeaways. It doesn't include any indirect benefits or incentives that the city or otherwise might offer. It does not factor in cash on cash flow and will need to be stronger for a profit developer. Obviously, this is probably something better left to the private development community. Long-term play at completion value may be lower than cost depending on market conditions. Timing will need to be factored for higher level analysis. Again, this is 30,000 foot view. And infrastructure costs will need to be absorbed elsewhere because, as we know, our impact fees do not really absorb the full cost for infrastructure. This is just kind of taking a look at, based on their assumptions, based on their proposal of all the phases, how many direct jobs are created from each phase, and they're projecting about 2,500 jobs. And the annual potential city property tax revenue, just shy of 2 million. Again, that's current millage rate. It also does not factor in any impact fee collection for parks, police, fire, transportation. They provided a set of additional next steps considerations. We've talked about some of this already before in previous compound presentations. So most of this is probably not new to any of you, but we've talked about if we're really going to do something like this, we would need to do it as a master plan. We don't want to just kind of throw everything out. We really should go in a phased approach, be very strategic about it. We would need to update our future land use. We would need to update the zoning. We would need to update our studies for stormwater and drainage, reserve rights of way for infrastructure for both the road and the stormwater associated with the infrastructure, conduct environmental assessments, which is not atypical of developing a property. However, we do have a brownfields grant that we could tap into for that. We would want to explore land swaps with BRP and other users as willing, explore acquisition, and finally, we might need to look at redesignating certain parcels that have a conservation easement or deed restriction, because otherwise you really can't get that full contiguous acreage. Moving on to infrastructure, we know that the infrastructure out there is not sufficient. We know roads and utilities will need to be invested, whether by city, by private developers, by a public-private partnership, by special assessments, whatever that looks like. There are opportunities for the city to explore grants. Now, we'll tell you, we had a lengthy conversation about the EDA grant, and I know you guys probably know this, but I try to always remind people the EDA grant is great, but you do have to have an end user. So we received an EDA grant in the past. Our end user was Harris. This was the realignment of Troutman Boulevard, I believe. So that's the caveat, which one do you do first? Finally, we've talked about this, and I know that there are some folks in the room that might bring this up as well, but whether council has a desire to do a special assessment. And then finally, just making sure we're considering FPL and their substation needs and our power needs in the compound. Marketing and rebranding. So if we're really looking to redevelop the compound, we probably should maybe stop calling it the compound. Maybe we look at rebranding it, marketing it as a destination for business, industrial users, major employers, university research and development, the gamut. And then finally, the redevelopment of the compound is going to take a couple of considerations, whether it's the city in coordination with the EDC, a private developer, or public-private partnership. That's my high-level overview on behalf of the consultant. Be happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? Councilman Hammer?
So have you discussed with Bombardier if we do that land swap, are they going to leave that property in the front vacant, or are they going to move manufacturing here?
They would leave it vacant. They require a
vacant?
buffer. Yeah.
And my other thing is, I just want to say thank you to you, to everybody involved in this. This is something that's 20 years in the making. I'm 45 years old, and my first day that my dad let me drive alone when I was 16 years old, his first rule was, don't let me catch you at the compound. So to be part of this step forward in seeing this is so huge for me. It's so huge for a lot of the people in this community. And I thank you for all your effort you've put in. You two, or everybody involved, has been amazing. And I thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Jaffe.
Yeah, I know how much work went into this. Commend that, especially for you. It's very, very well done. Great presentation. There's a lot of things I agree with. The rebrand, and I think it's extremely important. It's something that I've thought about for a very, very long time. I don't think anything's going to work out there unless the Parkway's in. I think that's the key for everything. Industrial wouldn't even go out there unless they had quick access to I-95. I do see it, with the Parkway in. I think industrial could be successful out there, but until the Parkway actually exists, I think it's a much longer than a 5 to 8 year reach. I think for the compound to be successful, I think it would take a public-private partnership and multiple developers and a special taxing district to pay for all the utilities and services that's going to be required out there. And the city shouldn't be a developer. We're not good at developing, and should partner with the professionals that know how to get it done. So that's my comments.
Thank you. My comments are that this is a plan, right? For years, and I hear what Councilman Hammer's saying, for years, this is something that the leadership has never even looked at. And this is a step forward. This is a vision. Without a vision, we're going to perish. And I believe that this is a way to go. When we asked you to dwell into this, we asked you to take on this task, and we gave you some direction. We want a strategic plan, and you partnered, and this is what you brought back. So kudos to you. Thank you so much. I know it was a lot of work. To the argument of the industrial part working, I believe that there is a portion of our land that we need to invest in. The land swap is a great opportunity, right? That's a great step, and I'm all for that. Also, we need to police our own. So we can't say come to the compound if we're not investing in our own. I do wholeheartedly agree we should start naming it something else. We should start marketing that yesterday, right? I've always said that. So whatever that is, maybe strategically we could get a team going to start calling it something else, and that's what we start marketing, and we start building that vision on that. But I am very supportive of this plan, and I think it's taking an opportunity and making an opportunity. And despite the challenges for decades, this is how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think this is a great bite, if you ask me. Actually, we've taken a few bites because we got to this point, right? So kudos to you, ma'am. I know that you've taken this on. You've devoted so much time and effort. And I love the vision that has come about through this. The whole swap exchange, the land exchange, the vision of that industrial park. To your argument, sir, I agree. We need to focus on bringing that you know, the South Heritage Parkway to start connecting on that. And that's another argument, right? That's another vision with the TPO and elevating that. But this is a great opportunity for us. Do we have speaker cards? Ma'am, I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I've got 5 items to address with this. Item number 1, St. John's Heritage Parkway needs to be completed before you even start considering any of your building going on out there. Because if you don't, what will happen is just like happens throughout the rest of the city, you start building stuff and all the traffic still gets routed through the middle of the city of Palm Bay on local roads instead of collector roads. That's number 1, St. John's Heritage Parkway, before you even consider this. 2, funding source for infrastructure. We can't fund paving of our own roads without a $150 million bond from the residents to pave our roads, but we're considering how we're going to do this. Keep in perspective what our growth is, right? Item number 3, what I don't want to see is we see this grand idea out here in the compound, right? And everybody says, oh, that's great. Here's going to be our industrial area. And what happens? Then you'll start seeing stuff like Osprey Landing, which is already our industrial, 200 acres of industrial zone land right next to the compound. And you'll say, well, let's convert that to housing because that's what's already in your proposals now. So don't think, and that's what my fear is. You're going to say, oh, here's going to be our industrial area. Let's start taking our industrial zone land, which is in hundreds of acres right now. One unit combined in size, we can get 400 acres along Garvey Road, which is supposed to be a collector road. That's item number 3. So don't start saying, oh, let's build houses. Item number 4, naming it, and this could just be your marketing concept, I don't know. Marketing by calling it Port Malabar Business Park. Port Malabar is at the north end of Palm Bay. So why are we going to start associating north end of Palm Bay with the southwest portion of Palm Bay? Let's get something that at least is going to say where it's located. And item number 5, last one. This is great. A lot of energy, effort, and some conceptual designs and conversation came into play. I want you to remember one thing, very important, because of conceptual design and how good it was going to be for the city. It was going to be our save all solution, was a place called Emerald Lakes. Same concept, same identical presentations were being presented on how we were going to have access to the interstate. It was going to solve all of our business concept. I don't see any of those educational systems up there. I don't see any of the medical fields up there. I don't see anything that was supposed to be bringing it back in. So don't jump and put all your eggs in one basket with this one. Remember what happened with Emerald Lakes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Kim Rosanka.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Kim Rosanka with the law firm Lacey Rosanka. I'm in off Wickham Road in Melbourne now. I think it's an amazing plan. I do. I think it's a 100,000 level plan, not even a 20,000 level plan. It's a great concept, but I think it needs a little bit more because there's so many challenges out there. I have been working with a design contractor who is interested in bringing utilities and improving the roads in all of the compound. I've been aware of this plan for a while, so we've worked around this industrial concept area, and I'm hoping to bring a presentation to you on May 15th. He's a site contractor, utility contractor, and the idea is to develop some of this to the east and then further to the north or south with the residences that are there. And the concept is to use your special assessment. And the special assessment is only paid by those who live there, who have ownership there. So we'll be coming to you hopefully in May to talk to you about this. And I bring this up because they do talk about the 2,700 different property owners. There is about 900 just in the Port Malabar Unit 53. And my client owns some. He's been working with Mr. Milam to possibly buy some of his. He has family here in Palm Bay. He works up and down the east coast of the United States, but he is interested in helping Palm Bay, and he'll be here with me as well. There are significant concerns with this plan because the utilities and the roads, but a special assessment can manage that. We're working with Jake Wise and CEG to come up with an estimate of what a per lot cost would be to develop the residential, not in your industrial area that you've defined, but next to it. So the concerns I have with this, and what Ms. Giancarlo Brown didn't say, but it's in your report, is you have to find a need. You have to solicit people that want to come here. That's not been done yet. The report says the activity and demand in this area is quote unquote not robust. Also says there's flat to negative demand is perspective in this area, at least for this year, and that rent growth has slowed. So you all don't want to be in the business, obviously, but getting a developer to come in and do here is going to be a challenge. The other challenges are also the land acquisition, the planning, the cost estimating, and the timing. Again, I think it's a great plan. This works with everything else, but also with the St. John Harris Parkway. If that doesn't come, then it's going to be a problem. But my client does want to develop some of the homes on the quarter-acre lots, bringing sewer, water, redeveloping the roads, all of that to make it more attractive to those that do come to the area. So I look forward to talking to you again in May. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
David Moyle.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. David Martin, 1663 Georgia Street Northeast. That's a great plan and concept. Two issues. Compound will come all together. It will happen. You don't need to do anything. We need two things. St. John Heritage Parkway. Without it, no industrial company is going to consider. They can look at it, they're going to walk away from it. We need access. Secondly, we need infrastructure, the utilities. If you don't have it, no company is going to wait till you put it in. They want shovel-ready go. With Donald Trump trying to bring industry to America, there is a big movement. In Space Coast, Brevard County, we have a lot of talent. We have a lot of educated, industrial, high-tech. We can bring them in if we can tap into the environment that is in Washington, see if they can help us. I saw a thing over here that says FAST, Fixing America's Surface Transportation. Do they have any money over there? You know, can we get this beltway? Because that's the key. We can bring the utilities, but the beltway is the key. It's only 14 miles. The other thing is that you got 85 acres that you got to do a bunch of land swaps that possibly, you know, they can do an industrial park. I got 100 acres in Cogan-Wingham partnership, which I'm basically 100% owner of that partnership now. I can add that to your industrial ammunition, so you have a lot more acreage. Just, I have one request that if you did a light industrial, the zoning got to be also accommodate commercial and possibly multifamily, because in case the industrial doesn't happen, I don't want to be stuck over there and keep on paying property taxes. So I should be able to use it, because beyond unit 53 that we are just had the study over here, there's a 52 and 51, and there's going to be a lot of housing built over there. These are already platted. So that's my 2 cents. You need to concentrate on the beltway and the infrastructure. Then it will all come together. You don't even need to do anything. You know, the developers will be all over you. You know, the companies will be all over you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
No more cards, Mayor.
Okay, council, what's your pleasure?
I would like to make a motion to accept the compound redevelopment action plan as prepared by Vida Nuovo with the terms of requesting staff to come back with a plan incorporating their recommendations with timely standards and a budget.
I'll second that for discussion. What do you envision?
Well, I see everything that they listed, and we could say move forward with these recommendations, but we don't have a cost. We don't have a price to any of the recommendations. So I think it would be appropriate to look at, high priority, what could be accomplished. We're talking about a 100,000, foot view. So
Yeah.
let's look at what can be accomplished with what amount of money. We're talking about the St. John Heritage Parkway. That's going to be extremely expensive. So it's going to take something like a public-private partnership, to Deputy Mayor Jaffe's point. But let's look at the costs. Let's look at the recommendations. Let's look at what we can do.
I think it goes also in conjunction with our sitting on the TPO and how we can elevate the strategic building of the St. John's Heritage Parkway and wrapping it around to the interchange, right? I think that's a critical component to that. So we have 3 positions on the TPO, and we definitely need to stress that priority, right? And how we move along with that, because there is a vision. The vision, and the reason I seconded your motion is because we can't just go on. It has to be a certain way. It's been going on like that for 37 years since I've been here, right? So the vision's got to be, we initiated this, and now we're moving forward. To Deputy Mayor Jaffe's point, and everyone else, that it's like the lowest hanging fruit is the vision, right? But the hard part is going to be to tap into that St. John's Heritage Parkway. That's got to be. I love the land swap opportunities, and there are other opportunities to move forward, but we need to prioritize the vision along with the St. John's, and that's why I seconded your motion, sir, because I believe that we've given staff this direction, we've invested in this direction, and I believe that we need to continue to move the ball forward, just prioritizing, understanding that this is a good vision. And moreover, we need to get that road completed and elevated. And I think that'll pique some interest. And I think that could create some public-private partnerships. I believe Councilman or Deputy Mayor Jaffe first, and then Councilman Hammer.
I think staff should take that opportunity to meet with Mr. Mo Allen and start having some serious conversations about what those land swaps would look like. In addition to the Parkway, I don't think any of this is possible, but without a very, very strong economic growth director, internal growth director that's hired by the city, and again the compound, and I sit on the TPO board, and everything's slow. It's very, very slow. And I think we need to start applying more pressure on our congressmen and our state legislators. We've experienced 20 years of growth in 4 years because of COVID. And that's just simply not fair. I mean, we had a great governor, kept our state open, but as a result of that, our residents are suffering. And I personally feel, the city of Palm Bay's at least $1 billion deficit in improvements to infrastructure and roads. And without the Parkway, it just wouldn't be fair to develop any further west, because all that traffic is just going to infill all the way through the city limits. So I don't necessarily know what it means to actually accept this plan. I still think it needs work. I think it needs meetings with stakeholders. I think an RFP process should be part of the top part of the plan. And I don't know. I'm just concerned without the Parkway and infrastructure that we're going to set ourselves up for failure.
Councilman Ham?
I think we're also forgetting in 2 weeks, we're going to have somebody sitting up here that actually specializes in stuff like this. So I love Councilman Johnson's idea of moving forward with the recommendations, but I think we need to I know you guys don't like workshops, but I think in July, August, we do need to have a sit down, and we need to actually designate time to get a good foot forward on this, get everything that our new city manager is going to bring in, take these options that we're given here, because just because we're accepting it, it doesn't mean we have to follow it. We're just accepting being able to use it. And that's, I'm in approval of that. I like the idea of, I mean, I am extremely wowed by what our staff has done so far. And I think with the recommendations our staff can do, can provide what we need, especially if we do have an actual discussion that's focused on this. I think Mr. Morton's going to bring a completely different light to the table. He's going to bring ideas that have worked in the past. He's going to have the people that actually specialize in stuff like this. So I think we're trying to build a house without the tools right now, and we have the blueprints and we have the builder coming. He's just not here yet. So I do agree with moving forward with the recommendations, but this just gives us more tools to give to Mr. Morton when he actually puts his belt on.
You know, based on the comments, I believe we're all in agreement that there's a vision here, and this isn't binding our hands, but there's part of those land swap discussions with stakeholders, like you mentioned, Deputy Mayor, where we can speak with Mr. Moel, and he appears to be willing to do some land swaps. But this is part of the discussion is we've been presented something, and let's start moving in that direction as opposed to not doing anything. Again, I want to commend staff for the hard work, the time dedicated, and everyone that was involved to get us up to this point. If you think just a few short years from today, there was nothing. There was no vision. And so I commend staff. So right now I got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Mayor Medina. I'm calling the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Passes 4-0. We are now on council reports. And gentlemen, unlike any other time, I'm going to lead the council reports because I'm usually last, right? But very first, I wanted to say I'm appointing Logan Luce to the Infrastructure Advisory Oversight Board. So that's completed. Then I wanted to just share it with our community. Did everyone check out the news in Space Coast Daily? Because of a flawed camera, we were able to capture an individual that killed someone and then stabbed someone and assaulted 2 women, comes to Palm Bay. Hey, all of y'all out there that mean to do harm, you come to the Bay, you're going to pay. So all I got to say is those fly cameras paid a significant price in saving the life of our citizens. And he was arrested at Cumberland Farms right down the street, gentlemen, right down the street. So really wanted to thank our law enforcement officials for reacting and apprehending him. So way to go, team. And then moreover, I know that it was briefly mentioned, but our chief of police was recognized by a national organization. And I think we, in particular, because of his mental health component of what he brought into our department. And so I wanted just to take this brief opportunity to say, way to go, Chief Mario Jello. Really appreciate everyone that recognized you. And I wanted, interestingly to note, the former chiefs of police that were there, like Doug Muldoon, but Bill Barger was there, who's a United States Marshal, gentlemen. So that was really impressive. Congratulations, Chief. And then I'm going to end my reports with this. Our city was in a position that we needed someone to bring us to a level of professionalism, to bring a new manager in. And we requested this individual based on his reputation in our community. We requested this individual because of the work that he had done as a city manager with the city of West Melbourne. We requested him because he has such an impeccable reputation, and he had a working relationship with each and every one of us on the dais. And so I was prayerful, and I was pleased to recognize that Mr. Scott Morgan accepted the challenge of taking our city into this opportunity of getting us, without a national search, for an outstanding candidate of a city manager. So, Mr. Morgan, the city of Palm Bay will always owe you a great debt of gratitude. And on behalf of the citizens of Palm Bay, I want to provide you with this certificate, and council with this certificate of appreciation, brother. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to this community. We truly appreciate you. God bless you, sir. We're gonna sit you over. We're gonna stand you over here, sir. We're gonna take a photo. Come on, with the council. Let's all pretend we love them.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes my reports. I will go to Councilman Hammer.
I'm going to be short. I would like to give my support for Aging Matters being added for funding coming up in July. I would like to just show my support for it. They do Meals on Wheels, and I got the privilege, not the pleasure, the privilege of going out and delivering meals to, the group we did was over 100 people, and they have over 100 on a waiting list. The impact that they have with the community, they're checking up on people. Some of these people, this is the only people that they have conversation with all week long. Every single one of the people that I met were probably some of the most amazing people I've met. They have stories. They just, it was saddening to see them in there sitting alone, and how happy they were to see Meals on Wheels show up. It's not just a meal. It's a service. It's being there, providing, I wouldn't even say support, it's security. There's a lot of these stories I'm riding around with them, and they're telling me they see something wrong with their house and they let them know. They even get the mail for them. This is something that's huge, and I think it should be a priority moving forward. If it's something that we can do and it's something that we're able to provide and we have the opening for it, I would 210% suggest we move forward on that in July.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
I'm good, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Jaffe.
I'm very excited that it's 9:19 and we're on council reports. It's incredible. And the consent agenda passed for the first time since I've been on council unanimously. I just want to echo the mayor's sentiment about Mr. Morgan. Really no more could be said, but I think probably one other person needs to be thanked, and that's to your wife for allowing us to have you for these last few months. So if she's watching, if not, please share that from us to her, because you know that the night we had the change in leadership, it was my first meeting as a council member, and I was like, what happens next? And we were graced with your presence and your experience and your leadership, and I'll be forever grateful. So with that, I'll close my reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Very well said. Mr. Morgan.
Hey, this is Jerry with On Point Wildlife Removal. If you think you might have critters in your attic like squirrels, bats, rats, or raccoons, give us a call today. We'll come out, we'll take a look, we'll give you a free quote to get them out, to seal up your home, and clean up whatever mess they left behind. We're locally owned and operated, and we're fully licensed and insured.